Parashara offered water to the rising sun, his eyes reflecting the crimson glow. Maitreya, this is no mere ball of fire. It is the engine of the multiverse, driven by the vibrations of sound. Thus began the technical breakdown of the solar chariot, a vessel of 9,000 leagues, held together by the math of the Vedas. So welcome back to the deep dive. This is our journey into the Vishnu Purana. And I have to say, when you pick up these ancient texts, you expect mythology, don't you? You expect stories of gods and demons. But this feels completely different. It feels like we've accidentally opened a technical manual.
It's good to be back, and you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. It is a technical manual. The whole tone shifts here. The student, Maitreya, he isn't asking for another story. He's asking for the mechanics. He essentially says, okay, you've told me the sun defines time. I get it. But how? What's the machinery? What actually carries time across the sky?
Exactly. So we're not looking at the sun as a star today, not as a big ball of hydrogen. We are looking at it as a piece of celestial engineering. Parashara describes a vehicle, a literal machine with dimensions, with gear ratios, and a fuel source. So let's pop the hood, shall we? What are the specs on this thing?
Well, for start, the chassis is. It's just massive. The text calls it the Surya Ratha, the solar chariot, and Parashara gives us the dimensions straight away, 9,000 leagues long. But then he throws in this detail that, well, it sounds like a typo to a modern ear. The yoke, the bar where the propulsion system connects, is 18,000 leagues.
18,000? Wait, so double the length of the vehicle itself?
Double the length.
That just sounds incredibly unwieldy. From any kind of physics standpoint, a yoke that long would create enormous drag, surely?
If you're thinking of a wooden cart, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But this is moving through the ether. The length suggests reach, not just weight. But honestly, that isn't even the part that stumps people. The bit that got me the first time I read it was the wheel.
Ugh, yes, the one wheel. I highlighted this in my notes because it just doesn't make any sense. He's very specific. The chariot has a single wheel. Now, I'm no engineer, but a single-wheeled vehicle moving at cosmic speeds. That sounds like a recipe for a rollover. How does he explain the stability?
And this is where we have to decode the blueprint. If this were just a physical cart, of course it would fall over. But Parashara explains that the components of this wheel aren't made of wood or iron. They're made of time.
Time.
Literally. The text breaks down the wheel's anatomy for us. It has 3 hubs, 5 spokes, and 6 rims. Now, these aren't just random numbers. The 3 hubs, for instance, they represent the 3 divisions of the day, morning, noon, and evening. Or you could see it as the 3 gunas, the qualities of nature.
Okay, so the hub is the daily cycle. I'm with you. What about the 5 spokes?
The 5 spokes are the samvatsaras, the 5 cyclic years that make up a larger cycle in the Vedic calendar. And the 6 rims, well, those are the 6 seasons. So when you ask, how does it stay stable? The answer is that the chariot is literally riding on the structure of time itself. The wheel is the year.
Ah, I see. So it can't topple over because it's effectively rolling along the track of inevitable time.
Exactly. It's not a metaphor, not really. To the Vedic mind, it's a structural reality. Time wasn't abstract. It was a force, a substance. The chariot is stable because it's built out of the seasons. If you took away a season, if you removed one of the rims, the whole wheel would break and the sun would fall. It's a perfect closed-loop system.
Yes, that is a fascinating way to look at stability. Okay, but let's talk propulsion. A chariot needs horsepower. And the text does mention 7 horses.
It does, yes.
But again, I'm skeptical. We've got this 9,000-league chariot made of seasons. Are we really saying there are 7 giant biological horses galloping through space, pulling this thing? It feels like we're slipping right back into fairy tale territory.
It would be if Parashara didn't stop us right there. He does this wonderful little bait and switch on Maitreya. He says, yes, there are 7 horses, but they are the chandas.
Chandas? Hold on. Those are the Vedic meters, aren't they? Like poetry?
Exactly that. The rhythmic structures of the Vedic hymns, this is one of the most high-stakes ideas in the whole Purana. The horses are listed by name: Gayatri, Brahadi, Ushnik, Jagati, Panti, Trishtup, and Anushtup.
Those are the actual names of the meters.
The very same. For example, Gayatri is a meter with 24 syllables. Jagati has 48. They are very specific rhythmic containers. What Parashara is telling us is that the engine of the sun isn't muscle, it's frequency.
Wait, let's just pause there for a moment. Are you seriously saying that this ancient text claims the sun is propelled by sound?
By vibration. Think about it from their perspective. In Vedic philosophy, what does the universe begin with? Sound. Om. Everything is vibration. So Parashara is just stating that the sun doesn't drift. It is actively carried on a wave of sonic energy, these 7 meters. They're not just poems. They're the carrier waves of the cosmos.
That is, gosh, that's actually much closer to modern physics than I was expecting. We talk about light as a wave. They're talking about propulsion as a wave.
Precisely. And notice there are 7 of them. 7 colors in the spectrum, 7 notes in a musical scale, 7 horses. It's a kind of unified field theory. The solar engine is a sonic generator. The mantras, the chandas, are what provide the torque.
So if I'm getting this right, the horses are just the interface. They're the user-friendly icon on the desktop. But the code running underneath is pure vibration.
That is a perfect analogy. The horse is the icon. The Gayatri meter is the code.
Right. So we have a time machine fueled by sound.
Yeah.
But it's not an autopilot situation, is it? Because reading on, it seems like the sun is incredibly high maintenance. There's a massive crew involved.
Oh, it's a huge operation. This is where the Vishnu Purana shifts from engineering to, management. We tend to think of the sun as this lonely object up there, but Parashara describes a bustling cockpit. And the sun's power, its heat, its entire flavor changes every single month because the crew changes.
The Adityas.
The Adityas, these are the solar deities. There are 12 of them, one for each month of the year. So in the month of Madhu, which is roughly our spring, March to April, the Aditya in charge is Datri. But next month, he clocks out and Aryaman clocks in.
The shift work.
It's cosmic shift work. And the Aditya is just the pilot. He doesn't work alone. The text details a 7-person team required for every single month just to keep the system running.
7 people, just to shine a light. Who's on the team?
It's a whole production crew. So let's take that spring month, Madhu. You have Datri, the Aditya. Then you have a sage rishi named Padastya. His job is to chant the praises, to maintain the focus. Then you have a Gandharva, a celestial musician named Tumburu, who sings.
So we have a soundtrack.
Always. You
Yeah.
have to remember the engine runs on sound.
Yeah.
You need the Gandharva to keep the vibration going. Then there's an Apsara, a celestial dancer, Kratasthala. Her dancing interprets the rhythm. You have a Yaksha, who's basically the mechanic holding the reins. You have a serpent Vasuki harnessing the raw energy. And finally, and this is my favorite part, you have a Rakshasa.
La Rakshasa. A demon.
Yes. A being usually associated with chaos.
Why on earth is a demon allowed in the cockpit of the sun?
He's the security detail. The text says the Rakshasa's job is to guard the rear, to follow the chariot and make sure nothing attacks from behind. It shows this profound understanding of balance. You need the holy sage to praise what's in front, but you absolutely need the fierce Rakshasa to guard your back.
That is a brilliant ecosystem. We just look up and see a white dot. They saw a symphony, a sage praising, a Gandharva singing, a snake pulling, a demon guarding, and the specific combination changes every 30 days.
Which is why the sunlight feels different in October than it does in April. It's not just the angle of the earth, it's a different crew. A different Aditya is at the helm, a different Gandharva is singing the tune.
So we've established the vehicle, the sonic engine, and the crew. But what's the mission? Is the sun just driving around the block for eternity, or is it actually delivering something?
It has a payload, and this connects the sonic engine to what you could call the hydrological pump. Parashara calls the sun the manager of waters.
All right, this is the part about the 8-month versus the 4-month cycle.
Yes. The text states that for 8 months of the year, the sun's primary job is extraction. It uses its rays, specifically a ray called Jyoti, to drink up the water from the earth. But it's not just water. It's extracting soma, the vital nectar, the very essence of life.
So it's charging the battery.
It's harvesting.
Yeah.
It spends 2/3 of the year just taking, gathering moisture, gathering essence. And then, for the remaining 4 months, the rainy season, it reverses the pump. It gives all of that life back to the earth.
That's a fascinating ratio. 8 months of intake for only 4 months of output.
It implies that true sustainability requires twice as much gathering as it does giving. You can't just rain forever. You have to have spent 8 months drinking. The sun is the ultimate model of resource management. It doesn't generate water, it recycles it.
Okay, I'm with you on the biology. I'm with you on the poetry engine. But I have to bring us back to the physics for a second, because there's a structural crisis in this model that we haven't addressed yet.
The centrifugal force problem.
Exactly. We have a single-wheeled chariot. It's spinning at thousands of leagues per moment around this central mountain, Mount Meru. By all known laws of physics, this thing should fly off the track and just launch itself into deep space. What holds it in?
This is where Parashara drops his most advanced concept, I think. He anticipates the question. He knows that circular motion requires a tether. And he names that tether Dhruva-Loka.
Dhruva-Loka, that's the pole star, isn't it?
It is. But in this text, Dhruva isn't just a handy navigation light. Dhruva is the anchor. The text describes cords of wind, or airy ties. The Sanskrit is vairajus.
Cords of wind. It sounds beautiful, very poetic, but what does it actually mean?
He uses a very specific, very grounded metaphor. He says, look at an oil press, you know, the traditional kind. An ox is tied by a rope to a central peg, and it just walks in circles all day to crush the seeds.
Right, the ox is always moving, but the peg stays absolutely still.
Exactly. Parashara says the entire galaxy is the ox, and Dhruva, the pole star, is the central peg. He explains that these airy ties connect every single planet, every star, and the sun itself, directly to Dhruva.
So the sun isn't really steering itself, it's on a leash.
It is tethered. The text says Dhruva is the Achan, the unmoving. Everything else, all of us, are Brahmana roaming. The sun can speed along at thousands of leagues per moment only because that invisible tension holds it in its orbit. If that cord snaps, the solar system dissolves.
You know, if you just squint at that description, invisible airy ties connecting rotating bodies to a central unmoving mass. That's suspiciously like gravity.
It's very hard to interpret it any other way. They didn't have Newton's equations, of course, but they had the observation. They knew that for a system to spin without exploding, there had to be some unseen force, a rope of wind connecting the moving parts to a stable center.
It completely changes how you look at the night sky. You don't just see stars. You see a network of tension, a web of gravity holding that chariot on its course.
And that really brings us to the mirror moment for us, doesn't it? Because the Vishnu Purana is never just about astronomy. It's always about us.
That's exactly what I was thinking. We talked about the sun gathering for 8 months and only giving for 4. I mean, that's a lesson in burnout right there.
It is, isn't it? In our modern world, we try to be in rain mode 12 months a year. We want to be constantly outputting, creating, producing. But the engine of the multiverse itself, the sun only outputs for about 30% of the time. The rest is extraction, absorption, recharging.
If the sun needs 8 months to recharge, maybe we shouldn't feel quite so guilty for taking a weekend off. But I think the deeper lesson is about Dhruva,
The anchor.
the invisible cords.
Yes, we live in a world that feels exactly like that single wheel spinning at 9,000 leagues an hour. The news cycle, the markets, our own attention spans, it's all centrifugal force just trying to fling us into the void.
And the physics holds true for the mind as much as for the stars. If you are spinning that fast and you don't have a tether, you crash. You fly apart. So the provocation for you listening today is this. In all this chaos, what is your Dhruva? What is your pole star?
Exactly. What is the one value, the one truth, or the one practice in your life that is Achan unmoving? Because everything else, your job, your health, your relationships, that's all Brahmana. It's all rotating. It all changes. You need to identify that cord that connects you to your center.
Without that cord, you're just a loose wheel in deep space.
And that is a terrifying place to be.
Well, on that existential note, listen, if this breakdown of the cosmic machine gave you a new perspective on the sun, or maybe made you realize you need to check your own internal gravity, please do like, follow, and subscribe. It really does help us keep the engine running.
And it helps us gather the energy, the soma, to bring you the next deep dive.
Nicely done. So we've covered the sun, we've covered the engine, but as you mentioned, the sun is just one player on the field.
Oh, we are just getting started. Parashara has a lot more to say. Next time, we have to look at the passengers, the other planet.
It's the dance of the 9 planets.
Exactly. We'll see how Saturn's slow movement, it's described as the sun of the sun, contrasts with Jupiter's wisdom and Mars's aggression. It's a whole other level of machinery.
I can't wait. Until then, find your anchor and keep looking up.
Goodbye.